I showed up consistently for months. I showed up every day, I posted, I engaged, I did everything everybody asked me to do, and I still didn't make a single sale. If you've been consistently showing up and not translating that into sales, then this video is for you. So in this video, I'm going to tell you the hard truth about why showing up consistently is not enough for you to make money. And then I'm going to tell you exactly what to do to ensure that you don't fall into the same trap that I did. This video is not about success. It's about correcting a mistake that I made. Because I did what everybody said I should do. I showed up consistently. Like I said, I was motivated. I showed up even when motivation was low, but it didn't translate to anything. Anyway, it worked. I mean, I grew, I evolved as a person, I had more clarity in what it is that I was trying to do or what it is that I'm trying to do. And I'm just a better person overall, but it did not translate to sales, which is really what I'm doing here in the first place. Like, pursue your goals and whatnot, but at the same time, we're not here to play, we need to make money. So you see, the problem was that I confused consistency with visibility or showing up or telling myself that yes, I did something for my business today, every single day, and maybe not breaking a particular streak that I'm trying to build. But that's not really what it is it? It's not. Consistency builds momentum. Consistency it will build you as a person. It will build your character. It will build resilience. It will build, like I said in my previous video, consistency is about yes, showing up as much as you can, but stepping back, taking a pause if you need to, remembering that you're coming back and all of that. Yes. But you see, while you are showing up, if you're just showing up to mark the register and say, yes, I showed up today for my business, or yes, I showed up today for myself, it is not enough. Imagine this scenario. I'll paint a picture for you. Imagine you are about to take a boat from point A to point B, right? And you know that in order for you to move the boat from point A to point B, you don't have a passenger because, as a solopreneur, you have agency over your own life, right? You don't have a boss, you don't have external, depending on what point you are in your business, you don't really have external pressure or deadlines breathing down your neck. So as a solopreneur who has agency over his or her own life, you are the driver, you are the principal, you don't have any supervisors. So back to this picture I'm trying to paint. Imagine you are trying to drive or sail a boat across a small lake from point A to point B. So because you don't have any supervisors, you are the driver or the sailor or the captain of that boat. You need to move from point A to point B. You have told yourself or set a goal for yourself that by the end of, say, 6 months, you would have successfully sailed the boat from point A to point B. So every day you tell yourself, I'll show up for myself to work towards the goal of getting to point B. But then guess what? When you get to the boat, you wake up in the morning, you take a bath, you brush your teeth, you dress up, you look beautiful, and then you come to the dock where the boat or the ship is parked, and then you start dancing on the boat, or you start taking pictures on the boat, or you start talking on the boat. Maybe you even hire a megaphone to start making announcements on the boat and yelling that, hey, hello, I am going from point A to point B. Watch me as I do what I do. This is how to go from point A to point B. But guess what you're not doing? You're not actually moving the boat. You're not paddling if it's a boat or a canoe. You're not paddling if it's a speed jet or whatever. You're not turning on the engine. The boat is not moving from where you're at. But every day, you wake up, you go to the dock, and you do the same thing. You shout, you laugh, you gist with other people that are about to start the same journey or already on the journey. You look at people further down the journey than you are, and then you talk about how you're going on the journey, how it's going to be awesome when you get there, and then you change your clothes, and then by evening you go home and tell yourself, yes, I showed up, I showed up for myself today, but you're not really moving unless the thing you do for yourself when you show up will move that boat forward. You have not done anything. It doesn't matter how beautifully you're dressed. It doesn't matter what you say when you get to the dock. And yes, you don't leave at the dock. You must have left your house to go to the dock where the boat is parked. And you must, but unless when you get there, the boat moves 1 millimeter forward, you haven't done anything. So what I'm trying to say is this. The things or activities that you do every day by showing up need to get you closer to the place where you are going. In other words, you need to be shortening the distance between where you are now and where you are going. So let's say it's 10 kilometers between where you are now and where you are going. If you show up today, even if you cannot do 1 kilometer, you need to do at least a tenth of a kilometer. That is when you can say you have showed up for yourself. That is when the build up will count. That is when, if you show up consistently for a whole year, you can say, yeah, I did 50% of the journey and I am halfway there. But if the whole year you show up and all you do is talk, the boat is not moving, by the end of the year, despite consistently showing up, you are not moving. You are still exactly where you were. So that's kind of like what happened to me last year, right? I was showing up, yes. I was doing a lot of things. I was focused on visibility. I was focusing on connecting. These are all, by the way, very wonderful things to do because you want eyes on you while you're doing what you're doing, right? So those are all valid things. But the priority that I failed to do and that I want you to not fail to do is to ensure that the activities you're doing every single day will shorten the distance between where you are and where you're going. If you have failed to do that, then you have failed to show up. Then you haven't shown up, and you cannot say you are consistent. In fact, that's what I'm coming to realize, if that makes sense. So that's the reason why it is very important to, first of all, be very self-aware. It is important. If you're not self-aware, it's very difficult for you to know what you're doing, honestly speaking. And then after being self-aware, you need to define what it is you want at every point in time. You need to know exactly where you're going. Because if you don't know where you're going, you can't just constantly be vigorously doing activities that's getting you nowhere. You need to be very intentional about those things you are doing while you say you are showing up. It's not just, oh yes, I showed up for myself today, because I am living proof that it's not all about that, honestly speaking. So now every time or every day before I start doing anything, I ask myself, what do I have to do today? What's the most important thing I need to do today to call today a success? In other words, if I have just 30 minutes or 1 hour, what is that thing I need to do to make sure that I have shortened the distance between where I am today and where I am tomorrow? And that's an important question for you to ask yourself, because there are plenty of activities you have on your plate that would be important but would not necessarily shorten that distance, if you know what I mean. So there are some things that are important for you to do, but you don't have to do them every day. There are some that you have to do every week, but there are some that you have to do every day. And if you don't, then you know that you have not shown up for yourself that day. Right? So those are the things you need to start with. Those are the non-negotiables that, at the barest minimum, at a bad day, even when I don't have time, even when I have just 10 minutes to show up, this is the one thing I will do to ensure that I have shortened that distance. So that is one thing that I'm doing differently now. At the beginning of the day, I write a list of things that I have to complete. And then I tell myself, okay, I'll start with this, so that come rain, come shine, if I don't have up to the 2-3 hours I have to dedicate to my business today, if I have just 1 hour but I managed to achieve this thing, I'll call today a success, because the other things I could push to tomorrow, or the other things I could push to sometime later in the week. You know what I mean? So this is particularly important for those of you who are always restarting, because when you find yourself doing this thing about consistently showing up, but you're not really doing the things that are moving the needle, or you're not really doing the things that are bringing you closer to your goals. So at the end of 3 months, 4 months, you're feeling frustrated because I'm doing all these things and nothing is even working. There are some people I know that they even wake up 2 a.m. to be posting on LinkedIn, because that's when their broad clients are online, but the things they are doing are not really making a difference, So if that's you and you're like, you're tired because you started again, maybe after 2 months you decided to pull back, and then months later you see your mates making $5k per month or $10k per month, and you be like, I want to be like these people. And then you come back again, and then you start all over again, but then you go back to doing the same thing you were doing before you quit the last time. You see, it's a cycle. So if this is you need to be more particular about what your goals are, and then you need to be more intentional about the daily activities you're doing. It might not even mean you being very visible. I spoke about this in my last video. I disappeared for a while, but it doesn't mean I stopped pursuing what I was pursuing. So the things you're doing every day that are moving you closer to your goals might not even be visible. It might just be like behind the scene things that you are doing, or that you're setting up, because you know that, okay, this thing is important down the line for you. Nobody's really seeing it because it's not posting or it's not commenting, so it's not visible, but you know what you're doing. you know what you're doing, you know what you're working towards. Nobody's going to do this for you. That's why I said it's very important to be very self-aware. You need to know who you are, what you want, and how you're going to try to achieve that thing that you want, so that you can intentionally pursue those things every single day. If you can, because listen to yourself, you're not a robot, yada yada yada. So I put together a 3-day consistency jumpstart that helped me to redefine these goals, and that helped me to see how I can ensure that I'm doing something that is making a difference for me every single day. I put this all together into a free small guide. It's like 5 pages long. If you're interested, I'm going to leave the link in the description box. You should check it out. It will help you to ensure that you are showing up in the right way. Also, it's going to help you to identify the things that are making you to keep going back to that restarting cycle, or keep tempting you to be like, oh, you're not going to pursue this thing anymore. This jumpstart is something I wish that I had before I started restarting all over and over and over again. So you can find the link in the description box. It will be delivered via mail. I'm hosting the free guide on Substack, so you will have to give your email address in exchange. So I hope you've understood now that consistency is not necessarily the problem. The problem is consistently showing up without purpose or intention. Thank you for watching. My name is Tess, and I help aspiring digital solopreneurs to build successful businesses with intentional consistency. I hope this video helped you as much as it helped me. And that's all for now from me.